Hey, welcome community to this next episode of part 2 with Crystal and her journey of what has been going on politically in the world. She currently now sits as a city councilwoman of Manville. She decided to jump in the race at the last moment. I remember that conversation, and she did it by the fire that burned inside of her belly. And what I know now is what she's been designed to do before the foundations of the world. God had gifted her this gift, and I believe from day one when she talked about running for office, that she was automatically designed to take power and conquer territory. So let's just dive right into this show. Let's talk about why, what made you just say, hey, I mean, because you were never thought about wanting to do any of that. And then one day you called me, you're like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. And I was like, no, she's going to do it. Ain't no thinking.
I remember that conversation. So it's funny because I have to choose wisely the words I say. I think one of the newspaper articles called me the newcomer, because a lot of the people who decided to run have been involved in Manville, have been, they're just involved. And it was completely unexpected for a woman like myself to just jump in, especially at the last minute. And there was some political narratives that were spinned because of that decision to run in at the last minute, which we can talk about later. But we had to disprove those because people were upset, I would say, that I decided to run. Of course they were. It's okay. We're kingdom disruptors. So, world disruptors. Well, I did not, when I coach business entrepreneurs or executives or any person I'm working with, we always work through a plan. What's your 2023 goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? How do your plans this year lead up to those? So it's very detailed and organized, and I have a plan of action for my business and for my life and for my kids, etc. That was nowhere on the radar for 2023 at all, which might upset some people because oftentimes people decide to run because they have a plan or an agenda. So to answer the question why I decided to run, for many reasons. I'm tired of complaining. And a thing that I always coach people on is if you're not growing or you're out of your comfort zone, then you're stagnant. The second thing is complaining. We complain a ton about what's going on in our world today, but we don't do anything about it. And my impact of that is doing the women in leadership development, business coaching, helping young professionals and young entrepreneurs to learn how to be professional, the life coaching side of it, how to connect to your identity and impart the identity, the women empowerment events. That's my calling, and that's my place to affect the world in that realm. However, it's craziness out there.
Absolutely.
It is bizarre. The things that are happening before our eyes, and people are so stagnant and complacent and asleep. It's called the woke movement, but you're not woke. You're asleep. You're actually paralyzed. You're a zombie. I don't want to say the wrong words because I feel so angry about what's going on in the world today. There's no words for it. There's really no word to describe it. So why I decided to run. The biggest reason I decided to run was I was coaching and still work with small businesses in the Manville area. This is my hometown. Oftentimes you see what's going on politically, and I just got sick and tired of hearing people complain, especially being somebody that helps businesses and hearing the stuff that needed change. It needed change. It just did. So in the city that I'm from, Manville, there's just so much red taping going on. There's a lot of things that are in place that people just don't realize are hurting the businesses that are coming there. They're being strangled from prospering, from succeeded, and businesses are forced to neighboring cities. And so in these conversations where I'm talking to real live business owners and hearing the tragedies and the stories that they were going through, it really rose up in me, and I got angry and I got frustrated with it and decided I'm putting my name out there. I'm going to run. I'm running for the position. Interestingly enough, I was asked, there's an individual, my opponent, his name is Jason Albert, who is a huge Democrat and LGBTQ. Good for you. Love that. If you do it, that's you. That has nothing to do with running the city. However, people attacked me for running against him because they know that I'm a conservative Latina. However, I didn't run on that. I never said that. I never ran on my ethnicity or my womanhood. I never said, vote for me. I'm a Spanish-speaking, first-generation Mexican-American, or I'm a woman. Vote for me. Never. I never used that as a platform. It's obvious. I don't need to say that I'm a woman. It's pretty obvious, right? I don't have identity issues. I'm strong in my womanhood. I don't need to say that. What I need to do is state the skills and connect with the community about what they wanted. And so my opponent had no one running against him. There was 2 other positions that were open for the ballot, and one already had 3 opponents, and the other had 4. So who am I going to go against? The incumbent. And it has nothing to do with parties. It has nothing to do with that initially. Initially, it didn't until election day, and we had strong conversation, and that's where I knew I was going to win. So the reason I finally decided to go was it really was a calling. And a lot of people don't understand this. They just, unless you're Holy Spirit filled, maybe you might understand it, maybe not. But I remember I went to Pasadena to their council meeting. I was having a business meeting with some political, I would say, advisors, advising on someone else running, not myself. And in that conversation, like 20 other meetings and conversations you and I have had, other people have had, oftentimes they've said, you should run, you should run, you should run, because of the opinions, because of the convictions, because of our belief system, because of our impact in the community. And ultimately, Congress was thrown out there a few times. And I was like, no, I don't want to go big. If I'm going to run, it needs to be in my community. It needs to be where my tax dollars go, where my children go to school, where I live my life, right? It needs to start small. And then we can think about things in the future. However, at this point in time, I have no desires to go over and above that. Now, if God calls me to something, or I feel the calling leads me there in the future, then we'll explore it then. But right now, I really just believe that we need more strong, business-minded people that are in making decisions for our small towns, number one, and people who have strong work ethic and values, and people who can connect with the community that don't believe the less the community is involved, the better we're doing. That's how we got into this crap hole we're in to begin with, is a lack of transparency and the demonic manipulation that is happening in the world of politics today. It's sickening.
So when you decided to put your name on that ballot and run, you had no idea what to do. You just knew that you've been successful enough in business, so you understood strategy. You understood hard work. You understood that you had to figure out and maneuver as quickly as possible, and go on the offensive side, if you per se, right? You had to get out there and grind. It wasn't going to be handed. You're going against an incumbent, right? So somebody who's already made relations, people know their name, whether they like them or hate them, it is what it is. And no one knew who you were.
No one.
So, that can be very intimidating.
It was.
And then going to go sit down with business owners can be intimidating, but this is what you do. It's what you do.
It's my life. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was nothing new to you.
Nothing.
And then you're a relational type of person, so that's nothing new to you. And so getting out there, it probably wasn't as difficult as most people, but tapping into a new adventure is always hard.
Very.
For anyone.
So it was funny to me that there was people who were running on the ballot who said, well, she doesn't have experience. I'm like, no one ever starts with experience. You have to start somewhere.
Right.
But the experience that I do have is my business knowledge, is me. And I bring all of that to the table. And even though I never sat in a council position, didn't mean that I didn't have what it takes to do what I'm doing, which is why the people of Manville voted for me. They elected me to represent them.
Elected.
I can't believe it. It's hilarious because, like I said, it was not on the realm of 2023. Like, this was not my goal and plan. But I remember sitting there at the meeting, and you and I both know that we have congressional friends and people who have run for congressional seats, and I've coached a few, I've worked with a few, I have really strong connections and friendships, but I've seen what happens behind the scenes, and I do not want to be a part of that. It's disgusting. It's gross. Politics is nasty, and it's really ugly. It will destroy families. It will destroy so much. But that's not enough to stop me from wanting to rely on my convictions and my passion and get in there and fight. And it's like I said in the beginning when I decided to run for the council position. In the beginning, when I went before council and I announced my candidacy, I said, hey, I'm not running against anybody, because I did not want to run and create fights and be nasty and attack people's character to win the votes of people. To me, that's dirty politics. And it shows your lack of character when you have to resort to those methods to win. And I'm sorry if I'm stepping on anybody's toes politically. Well, Crystal, that's political science. Well, it sucks. And people like me are tired of it. We're tired of the division. We're tired of the name calling and the he did this and he did that. He shouldn't represent you. Oh, he's a black person. Don't vote for him. Oh, he's a white person. Don't vote for him. That has nothing to do with skill set. Like, can we just be honest? Like, I'm sick of it. So when I decided to put my name in the bucket, I did wait to the last minute. And people ask me, you didn't decide to run to the very last minute. That's partially true. It's not 100% true. So why did I wait to the last minute? Many people don't know this. You know this. When I felt the desire inside, the calling, if you will, to run for city council, in that moment, I was like, who am I to run? But then I looked and I'm like, no, this is why I need to run. Why do I need to run? And I separated that from all the negatives. And I thought, okay. And then I prayed about it and I felt this peace. Like I needed to do it. I can't really put words to it, but I just felt like this one time when I heard the Holy Spirit say, go. And I just went. Didn't think, didn't overthink. I tend to analyze things and I didn't. I just did it. I went to get the packet, but I remember talking to you, talking to a few godly men in my circle, and 2 spiritual sisters, and saying, I cannot run without my husband's full support. And that's why I waited, because I was not about to sacrifice on the altar of politics the sanctity or the holiness of my marriage, because that's priority in my life. It's God, marriage, children, and then everything else, right? And without my husband's covering and blessing, I wasn't going to do it, because me doing this meant he was doing it with me. And I was not about to go home and have fights and discord at the sake of sitting on a council.
Right.
And in the beginning, my husband did not want me to run. Right. He was absolutely against it because of the nastiness of politics, because I'm running a business, because of everything that it entails. And it's a basically volunteered position that requires a lot of time and energy.
A lot of people don't realize that.
They don't realize it. Like you don't do it for the money.
Right.
You definitely don't do it. A city council in Manville pays $400 a month. Like, that's it. Man. Striking it rich. Man. We need to figure out what Pelosi's doing. How did she make her millions as a public servant?
Well,
however,
out of California.
She moved to California, you know?
Interesting.
So with that being said, I brought it to my husband's attention and said, hey, I'm really feeling this desire to run. And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. He's like, are you crazy? Why? No, absolutely not. And it almost caused some division between us, because I felt this calling and desire to do it, and he was opposed. And he was like, finally, he said, fine, you do it, you do you. And I said, that is not, hey, I support you. And he said, well, I'm not for it. I think it's a dumb idea. I'm not backing you. And so I had a conversation with you, and you said, you gonna do it? What's going on? And I was like, well, my husband still is against it. But we were talking, and then I was talking to a few other people, and I was just praying. And I was just not willing to make the decision without my partner in life, my everything. If I make a decision without his blessing, then I won't be successful as a councilwoman, and then I'll sacrifice my family, and that's not okay.
Right.
And a lot of women today, independent women, think, well, I don't need my husband's blessing. I'm going to do me. Well, I am intelligent enough to know that if I do this, it takes my whole family with us. And so if he's not on board, I'm not doing it. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Well, I believe, I can't remember the specific date, but the night before, I know you were praying. I know Ryan Maines was praying. A few other people were praying. And something happened between him and I where we had some discord, which we rarely do, which is completely supernatural. But it allowed us to have a talk. And he asked me, he's like, why do you want to run? And then he asked me, who's your opponent?
Yeah.
And when I said who my opponent was, he was like, that's all you had to say.
He's on board.
On board, instantly. There's more to the story of why, which I don't want to chat about here.
You don't have to.
Which you and I did talk about. You know these things, and I'm happy to have the conversation with a human conversation. But in that moment, all that matters is that I had his blessing and I had his support. Absolutely. And then you called, you said, it's the last day, you're going to do it? And I was like, yes. He said yes. And you're like, well, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you. And so I went, I filed, I put my name on the ballot, and I went head first. I was in to win it. And I campaigned, I did meet and greets, I connected with the community, I started calling business owners, going door to door, just doing the grassroots efforts. And unfortunately, I saw some ugly sides of some people that I admired and respected in the beginning. And I will say that the campaign trail taught me to see sides of people through the campaign that I would otherwise never have seen had I not been on the campaign with them. Good or bad, I don't know. I did lose a lot of respect for certain individuals, and then I gained a lot of respect for certain individuals. I gained a lot of respect also for my husband, because he was in it to win it too. Right. Once he was on board, he was like, let's go put signs out. You need to do this. He showed up to my meet and greets. I mean, he prayed with me. He supported me. He spoke blessing over me, held me, loved me, and just spoke into me and supported that. And so that we just have to give him credit, because
100%. I mean,
he deserves it.
It when you run for office, it takes a lot out of the family, and if your spouse isn't there, it'll drain more.
It does.
And you have to have that unity, because like you said, if you don't have it, then there's division in your home. And you can't serve people when you're coming home to a hostile environment, or you're thinking about going home into a hostile environment. Even when I ran for office, I had to have that blessing from my wife and my kids, because they're gonna, they're gonna see their dad in a different light, or people are gonna talk about their dad a different way. People aren't gonna like me. People bash me everywhere. And my wife, Corthane, she got tired of seeing people bash me and talk bad about me on our social media. People were sending all kinds of stupid stuff. It was interesting. I had some transgenders that were coming out, just really targeting me.
And they mobilize out of hate, because your belief system doesn't align with them. And it doesn't mean that we don't love them as a human. It's just that they're taking it overboard, because the way they look at it is this is what I say. I say, you look at your transgender lifestyle as a religion, because you want to force other people to accept you, but yet you don't want us to talk about our God in schools or even pray. Like, it's offensive that I have a personal belief in the creator of the universe that loves me, that accepts me for who I am. Your mentality and your mindset doesn't allow mine, so you think you have to obliterate me? If I haven't had a personal interaction with you and specifically hurt you one-on-one. Why would you attack me because I love Jesus and because I'm running for public office?
Right.
Why would you do that? Am I out to annihilate you? They don't understand it. They come with strife. And another thing why we need our spouses on board is because we cannot be successful when we live in a home full of strife.
That's right.
I lived in a strife-full environment with my ex-husband and his family, who were Pentecostal Christians. We would go home and all they did was talk about each other and bring each other down. And it was just full of strife. And the Holy Spirit does not operate in strife.
Mm-hmm.
And if I sense strife and you want to come and disrupt the strife, we literally will shut you out. Because we protect the peace of our home so much. And my husband does it now. He's like, oh, their drama, we're cutting them out. Buy some time. Take some time off. Even family. Even family.
My wife is very
good. You have to protect the peace at home.
My wife is, she concentrates on peace. You know, it's funny during that time, they were coming at, they're coming after me, but they were, messaging me all this stuff. And I had a friend of mine, and he's a homosexual, and he's part of a large organization. And he says, Pastor, he says, are you going to jump on some of these interviews? You're going to do all that? And I said, no. And I said, if I win the primary, maybe, but I don't really see a need to. And he says, if you do, I want to go on with you, and I'll defend you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was like, okay, but the LBGT, it doesn't matter. He says, we know who you are and we support you. And, it's interesting because I sat down with these different groups that don't believe biblically how I believe on certain topics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I fought against the story time of the drag queen, right?
Which my opponent told me he thinks is a beautiful thing for drag queens to read to 5-year-olds. At that moment, I thought, and look, for him, that is his experience. No one is discrediting their experience, their feelings, what they believe is their identity. That's their choice. Where I have a hard no is you imparting your religion, basically.
It's an ideology.
It's an ideology on a 5-year-old's impressionable mind. And what he said to me was, well, I knew I was gay when I was 5. And I said, you did? How? He goes, well, how did you know you didn't? So I didn't want to get in that argument with him right then and there. But it's like, first of all, 5-year-old shouldn't even be questioning sexuality.
No way. You don't even, at 5 years old, you're not looking at, wasn't looking at a female and thinking, oh, okay, I want this.
Am I a man or am I a woman at 5? Children are children. And I believe they need to be protected until they are adults, and then they can decide, I've never really felt like a guy or a man or somebody. But for the school systems to come and say, oh, your little 6-year-old says she's a girl and it's a boy, you need to affirm that.
No.
You're crossing lines there.
Yeah.
Like, those are our children.
Right.
And that's why we're seeing school choice come to pass, because they are indoctrinating our children.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on. And I'm not saying that we have to be against them. What you do behind closed doors is your business.
Absolutely. But
What
leave the
you
children out.
do, but leave the children out of it. And I'm sorry that no one affirmed your identity when you were little. I'm sorry that you didn't have a loving Jesus to hold you and love you, or a father or a mother to protect you and tell you and look you in the eye and affirm you. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry. That's all I can say. But that doesn't mean that we want to get in a fight with them. I'm not against you.
No.
I'm against the government telling them what they should do. That's if Jesus gave us free will, then who am I to tell them what they should and shouldn't do? Hey, Jesus died on the cross for you. It's my job to love you regardless of your sin, accept you, but it's also my job to, like a roaring lioness, to protect the children in my family and to protect those innocent minds as much as I can.
Here's the problem that I have with it. You got to be 18 years old to go into an exotic club.
100%.
But yet you're going to bring these people to lap dance and dance in front of children in a public life.
It's just not right. It's just not right. And if, to me, it's predatorial.
It's awful. I just had a meeting this morning actually with somebody who's running for city council, and I told that individual, because he was asking me about different lines, right? Because he knows I was very vocal on this with the city of Houston and all these things. And I said, he asked me, how do we do, why am I so onto this right now? Because of what is done at indoctrinating. But yet we go to an exotic club, there's licensings, there's fees to the city, there's all these things, but yet you allow it in our public library.
Yeah.
Under taxpayers' money. And these are children that we're talking about. Now, if it's adults, whatever you want.
Half of them don't have children.
I don't go to an exotic club and stand outside and monitor or protest or anything. If that's what you want to do at 18 years old,
go ahead. No one is stopping you from doing that.
Leave the children alone.
That's all I'm asking, literally. And don't force me to have to affirm your pronouns because it hurts you emotionally. You need therapy for that. I'm sorry. And people are going to hate me for this. Here we go. This is what I said to city council and to the people who voted me in. I can't even make my husband, who is the number one person in my life next to my children, happy 100% of the time. There's no way I'm going to please people outside of my home 100% of the time. No way. There's no way. So don't set the expectation that I'm going to be Superwoman and meet all of your expectations. I will let you down. Your expectation of who I am will be let down at some point. However, if you ask me why I vote on something, you will know exactly why. If I choose to, because there is a law that says I don't have to say anything on how I vote or why I vote a certain way. But you'll know where I stand and why. The second thing is someone's sexual desires or what they do behind closed doors, that's where it should stay.
That's right.
That's where it should stay. And I think that it's funny because they say that the minorities, right, have been bullied for so long or they haven't been able to express themselves. Yes, that might be true. I never did it. In fact, most homosexual friends that I have feel loved and safe with me because they know that I'm not judging them. It's not my place to judge them. It's my place to protect my children. That's my job and my role and the children of the community. And most of them that I know believe the same way. But social media and the media has really spinned a narrative because they come from a place of authority. And it's two opposing arguments. Oh, well, they generalize that every Christian hates transgender and homosexual people. And that's not the case.
No.
We don't hate them. What we don't want is you attacking us because we love Jesus.
Right.
Or because we believe in a higher power. So what if I do? Hey, you want to dress like a woman and your man? Go do your business. Let me love my Jesus. And if I want to love you and accept you and give you a hug, then let me love you.
You know, we were at the Capitol a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it. And the transgender movement was up there. People were up there. They surrounded us and they were, yelling at us, spitting on us.
That's bullying. That's bullying.
Everything that they are against.
It's hateful and it's bullying.
They came and did to us.
And it's smear campaigns.
What in the world?
Yeah, it's a smear campaign. They want to smear your character and make you out to look like the bully when it's them. They are the biggest bullies when they go out in public and harass and break and vandalize. That's not the way to change a movement. It's having peaceful conversations, sitting at the table with people that have different mindsets than you and being able to connect on the things you do agree with. But our society and social media specifically has created division. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of the politicians we voted for love it. Why? Because it's the media. There's no bad media. Media is media. If you're covering a bad story, hey, your name's in the paper. But it's creating division.
Right.
It's creating division. It's creating a narrative. That's a lie. It's a narrative saying that because I'm a transgender, I can't vote Republican or you hate me. No one hates you. That's a victim lie that you've told yourself.
Right.
Get out from the phone and interact with normal humans. Right? Now, am I going to accept? Look, I have a hard problem with a lot of the things. Do I think that they need to be loved and accepted? Yes. Do you need to feel safe? Yes. Is there a mental health aspect where when they don't feel safe or included, mental health goes to suicide and things of that sort. We know that that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, if you go into a church, someone will pray with you and make you feel loved and accepted.
Here's what I'll tell you to the transgender community if you're listening. My doors are open. If you need prayer, if you need to talk, my doors are open. I'm here to help walk you through that. We hold our doors open for people that are stuck in addiction, people that are going through divorces, people that have contemplated suicide or have anger issues. We all have issues that we trying to conquer and become better or struggle in identity. It's not just their group. Because there's people that believe because my mom drank, I have to drink, or my dad drank, I have to drink or smoke, or they lived a certain way, I have to live a certain way, and that's not what you've been designed to do. So our doors are open to anyone that needs help in prayer.
Definitely. And even myself, I mean, I can honestly say this. Anybody that I've had a connection or relationship with or friendship with, the two gentlemen that came out, they came out to me saying I'm gay. And I asked them, like, why did you feel like you could come to me? I'm a Christian, I love Jesus. And they're like, because I knew you wouldn't judge me. Now I don't have to accept, it's not my place to do that. It was just my place to hug them, to love them, but also speak truth into their heart from my belief standpoint. But that says a lot. I believe that if you are a man, you're homosexual, and the person you come out to is a Christian, why? Because at some point you trusted that person with your secret and you knew that they weren't going to judge you, because who am I to crucify you? Well, who are you to crucify us?
Right.
That's the thing. And by the schools and other corporations and businesses forcing it, there's equality training out there. Absolutely. Be accepting. Don't make somebody feel bad because they're a certain way. Love and accept them, but to a point. Like, I just think things are out of control. And there's a lot of division. And I think that we need to be what God has created us to be, and that's loving and accepting. Mm-hmm. Until you mess with my family, then it's on. Right? Mama bear. Or my family, my husband, or me. There's a lot of, family members out there that I don't even speak to anymore, or that we're on pause with because there's discord or there's a lack of whatever. There's false set expectations of certain things or whatnot. But at the end of the day, being in politics is not fun simply because of the attacks. But we choose to do it because we believe in a higher purpose. We believe that we can make a difference without being, the crap starters or the ones to create the division.
Right.
And you should respect my belief system. If you are asking me to respect and accept yours, then accept and respect mine. Why can't we? So many of the other groups say, well, we need to be accepted. Well, why do you attack Christians?
Right.
Why do you crucify us the way Jesus was crucified? Like, that's an internal thing. And I don't think they've really experienced true loving Christians in their lives.
No.
So it boils down to.
And that's sad, but that's our world. That's the world we live in.
It is.
And I think that people will hopefully see us and see us in a different light. And I hope that other Christians will put on the true love of Christ and be able to operate with love.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard at times. And look, when I was at the Capitol, people were spitting on me. You don't think that was easy? Had one guy, he thought he had a moment of where he was going to rush me, and his friends grabbed him and held him back. And I just told him politely, like, you don't want to do that. Like, you don't. You might have had that thought, and there was a little.
What does it prove? What does it prove?
You don't want.
They're full of anger. They're taking their anger out on people they don't know.
You're going to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
And so, and if you touch me and I have to defend myself, I'm going to defend myself.
Absolutely.
But you're going to go to jail.
That's right.
Like,
there's consequences to
you don't
that.
want to do that. Like, for what? Because we're singing worship songs in the middle of the tundra. Like, you're wanting to attack me because I decided
that I want to praise Jesus.
And praise Jesus right there. Like, and you want to physically.
Demonic manifestation.
You know what I'm saying? 100%. But it's I could have reacted a million different ways. I didn't raise my voice. I spoke to him just like I was speaking to you. I wasn't going to
Should have just gave him a hug and said, brother, I love you. You need a hug? Come here, let me love on you. Let's love on you. You need some love, some people to just hold you and love you. I believe that's a big root of it all is the feeling of loneliness, the feeling that nobody really loves them.
Well, nobody loves them. Nobody understands them. Right?
Yeah.
And
I don't know what it's like. I don't want to, I can't speak. I can't pretend to speak as one of them. So I want to clarify that. But I can only imagine that that's
Right.
why the anger and the outbursts come. Now, I definitely want to say this entire movement has created people because of the bullying to not be open about their conservative values. Like
Right.
the people that showed up to walk for me, that showed up to support me, to block walk. Ladies showed up in my house that came from Tomball, from Conroe, drove to Manville, Texas, which really isn't that far from downtown. However, they drove there to support me because they believe in who I am and my platform. And that to me says a lot. It also is starting to show me behind social media in the DMs and the messages and the text saying, hey, I'm a conservative. Nobody knows why. You're afraid of the online bullying?
Right.
People should be ashamed of themselves. They should be completely ashamed of themselves if they have family members that are conservatives and you're bullying them because of a mindset or a disagreement in politics. You should be able to be mature enough to have the conversation, sit at a table with a Trump supporter and a Biden supporter. Why can't we sit at the table and have the conversations? Oh, because you can't control your emotions? Because you can't force me to think like you do? Or because I'm critical think and I think for myself? That's a problem. That's a problem, and it's not on us. It's the people who are afraid to show that they truly believe in Jesus Christ or a God. Many of them believe in God, as they say. They believe in conservative fiscal values, and they don't want to sacrifice the United States on the altar of another country because it's what's happening. There's too much going on, and people are so brainwashed from social media that they don't have the skill set to have a conversation and critical think about what's saying. They're being impressionable and they're being led by people that they think are the authority and know it all. And that's social media influencers.
So what would you tell the younger lady out there, the 20-year-old, Crystal, that is, has conservative beliefs, that, in the social media world, that has got all this junk they're watching, but has these values and she's hungry to make an impact in her community? What would you tell her?
When I was 20 or a 20-year-old today?
20-year-old today.
Oh, I would say that we cannot be afraid of speaking up for our values. I think that being a leader is just that, is being confident, healthy confidence. I say this a lot because there's people out there with ego and it's rooted in insecurities. But having a healthy confidence to know who you are and what you believe in. And it's okay to not try to change everybody's mindset. It's okay to believe what you believe and own it. I think that I believe that that's why a lot of people who are so extreme create a following. Because they're so extreme, they seem so confident in their belief system or their ideology that people who do not have a strong self-esteem follow them. And so we get sucked up into following people who are misled because they don't even know who they really are. They don't even have a strong sense of identity. It's a false appearing identity. And so I think that the same thing happens because I get those messages. Thank you for speaking up. You create respect when you own what you own. Own it. Own it and don't make apologies for it. And so the biggest thing for me is, what are your true gut convictions? Right? We have a society where the youth is being strayed away from Jesus. They're praying to rocks.
No.
Purple amethysts. It's going to bring me love and peace. That rock doesn't have power. It's your mindset that has the power. and it's who you pray to. And you may be praying to a dead idol. This plant has no power.
Right.
Right? This cross that I wear, this has no power. What has power is when I look at it and I'm reminded of who I am in Christ. That's where the power is. It's my mindset, which is then reflected in my choices and my actions and my behavior, right? Having the strong identity of what your belief system is and owning it, just own it and be guided by your convictions. Like my husband put a post on social media about my city council position. They're like, she's a highly principled woman and she will always vote on her convictions. That's true. And another thing, I'm not a people pleaser. Like, I really don't care. Like, people can say, I don't like you. Okay, Jesus loves me. God bless you. Like, I really don't care. And I think that a lot of people, because of the lack of identity, because of the lack of strong parents and parents that have a strong identity in Christ, there's insecurities that happen. And so what's happening? We have a culture of people seeking identity from people or things that don't even have the right identity. They're lost. It's a lost culture.
So how do the viewers get a hold of you? You can tell this camera right.
Right.
Or they want to follow you, they want to order your book or
my book.
To hire you as a consultant.
Okay. So the first thing is my book was rated #1 in Christian leadership. I outsold Joel Osteen. I love that. It's my claim to fame. And he and I had a conversation and I was like, I beat you. Like, I outsold you. Like you said I would. You said I would be a bestseller. And he laughed and he said, well, if I would have known that, I wouldn't have said that. We had a laugh. It was so funny. But my book is on Amazon and it's very affordable. We're working on the Audible now because a lot of people are asking for it in English. But I'm also going to make the Audible in Spanish. We do have plans to translate it to Spanish, which my stepmom, my mom, it's her project. So she's retired now. She's a retired educator of 50 years, actually, between Mexico and here. But we are working on translating that to Spanish on both. It's on Amazon or my website, which is the RE source, the as in the, depending on how you pronounce it, THEARI source. If you order it there, it'll be signed. It'll take some time to get to you, but we will sign it. We'll mail it to you. I am on social media. Disclaimer, you see my dogs. You don't see a lot. I'm not one of those, I'm not an influencer. So I'm on social media as crystal.lioness. And I am on Facebook, but it's a private page. But other than that, and becoming a lioness on Instagram.
Becoming a lioness on Instagram.
Yes.
So make sure you guys go out there, like her, order her book, support her. She's a woman of God, faith. And I hope you follow her, connect with her, hire her as a business consultant if you need help in your business and growth. Have her out for a women's conference. Have her out for a speaking engagement to uplift your work environment. I promise you it'll be a blessing to you and to your business. So we thank you so much for tuning in to I Fight With You, What You Fear. I hope you continue to watch us, follow us, share us, and get this out to people that you think it might benefit. We want to be able to give the info so people are more informative and making better decisions. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.